The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
Yeah, no, I lied. Bro, who even controls the spread of misinformation? Actually, John M. Sinformation, who is actually a lizard and pays people to spread his lies.
Dude, where did you even hear that?
Reddit. This guy just spread misinformation because he saw it on a source he thought he could trust. This is not a unique experience. Thousands of Americans fall victim to this every day, and there is a new demographic, the youth.
Younger generations, Gen Z and millennials, are now falling into this trap. As both sides of the political spectrum start reporting more intense and incorrect information, it's important to keep misinformation in mind.
And with AI becoming easier to use and access, it's becoming a bigger platform for misinformation. So how do you know what to trust? How do you know good information from bad? And how do you know about biased sources?
And remember, just because a lot of people are saying it doesn't mean it's true. If a news outlet is spreading lies, it doesn't affect its validity. It can still be untrue. We interviewed our history teacher on an educator's perspective on how misinformation can affect our perception of history.
Can you repeat the question?
Who are you?
Hi, my name is Jason Oken. I teach government economics and U.S. history at Papa.
Is social media a viable source of information?
Of information? Sure. Information is a broad concept. I think if it's a viable source of reliable information, probably not. If it's a viable source of news about, current events, things like that, no, I don't think it's not a very viable source. No.
Is it a teacher's responsibility to relate history to politics?
I mean, I don't think you can separate those two things. History is history of politics, right? Like that is kind of what we study. We study human interactions, and that is political in its nature. I think we probably don't spend enough time talking about the political realities at a time and in a place in a way to sort of help contextualize everything. People to this day like to say that Republicans freed the slaves, which is true. But we don't really talk about, we don't have enough knowledge to talk about shifts in political ideology and political beliefs and how they've shifted. First, starting in really the 1950s, and then again in the 1980s. So I think one of the things we try to leave out is politics when it is the main driver of so many things.
All right. How has misinformation affected our perception of American history?
I mean, you can make the argument that American history is misinformation. We like to paint a picture of our history that I think is quite a bit more rosy than the actual picture. We don't talk about in the same breath the things our founders did that were actually really quite incredible politically, while at the same time they were engaging in other really heinous activities, human slaves, right? Like, those are both true at the same time, but we like to leave half of that story out. The lost cause narrative of the South, right? Like that was a way for us to not have to confront a fairly dark history, or a fairly dark chapter in our history, and let us just sort of breeze right past it without any real reflection as a nation. So.
I think one of the most recent and significant examples of misinformation was the January 6th insurrection.
And the investigation into January 6th in my very peaceful and patriotic speech. Remember? Peaceful and patriotic.
The President of the United States spread disinformation about the 2020 election. Angry voters stormed the Capitol, causing chaos, destruction, and 4 deaths.
Many people are still trying to prove that this protest was peaceful and are well within their right to do so, but a protest is not peaceful if lives are taken. If this is how history will remember this incident, the punishment will be unjust. Think about how future generations will perceive this.
Think about all the historical events that could be perceived wildly differently if some lies are sprinkled in. So think about that the next time you see some information online or hear something from a friend. Make sure to remember people and events the right way.